Good morning everybody, I'm Steve Blatch, Chief Executive of the District Council. I'd like to welcome you to the offices of Norfolk District Council this morning, and particularly to our Poppies in Steel sculpture, which is a focus of remembrance and commemoration for all those from North Norfolk who have made sacrifices so that we can enjoy the freedoms and privileges that we have today. We are here today to remember those who took part in the Battle of Britain 80 years ago, which was the first major campaign to be fought entirely by the Air Force, and was also the largest and most sustained aerial bombing campaign to that date. Joining us today we have Air Commodore Jack Broughton OBE and Deputy Lieutenant, who is a retired Senior Royal Air Force officer, Commandant Royal Observer Corps, and was the Station Commander of RAF West Drayton, and Chairman of the Sheringham and District Branch of the RAFA. As well as the standard bearer from the Sheringham and District Branch of the Royal Air Force Association, Ray Loke, the Chairman and Vice Chairman of the North Walsham Branch of the Royal Air Force Association, Robert Overton and Steve Cllr, along with the President and his wife of the North Walsham Branch of the Royal Air Force Association, Mr. and Mrs. Bob Barker. Also joining us today we have Mike Diath and Alan Brace representing the Potter Heigham Branch of the Royal Air Force Association. Representing North Norfolk District Council we have the Leader of the Council, Sarah Butikofer, Chairman of the District Council, Councillor Clive Stockton, and Councillor John Toye, who is the Armed Forces Champion for North Norfolk District Council. Good morning and welcome.
By early summer 1940, German forces had conquered the nations of Western Europe before turning attention to the subjugation of Great Britain. Before attempting a cross-channel invasion, it was vital that the Luftwaffe achieve air superiority and neutralise the RAF and its allies. The UK defences comprised fighter aircraft and a unique ground-based air defence system. The Hurricane Spitfires and Defiant fighters were mainly manned by RAF and Commonwealth pilots, navigators and air gunners, supported by aircrew who had fled German occupation of their home countries such as Poland and France. At the start of the conflict, the Allies had 749 fighter aircraft. The Luftwaffe had 2,550 mainly bomber aircraft. For the next 4 months, the conflict was fought out over the skies of southeast England, whilst the Luftwaffe attempted to destroy the RAF aircraft and deny them use of their airfields. By October 1940, the Allies had lost 1,547 aircraft with 554 aircrew killed. The Luftwaffe lost 1,887 aircraft, but their total losses were 3,336 bomber aircrew. Today, the 15th of September in 1940, was considered to be the point at which the battle started to favour the Allies and forced the Luftwaffe to change tactics to the bombing of British towns and cities known as the Blitz. The pilots gained the headlines, but the UK Air Defence Force was supported by nearly 1.5 million men and women civilian volunteers from the Cadet Forces, the Royal Observer Corps, the ARP, Fire, Police and Ambulance Services, the Home Guard, Air Raid Wardens and Aircraft Production and Munition Workers, per ardua ad astra.
I wanted to share today why today's important to me, and I make no apology for being emotional, and I will get through this. Until my father, my grandfathers had all served in the army. My paternal grandfather lived a life blighted by the effects of mustard gas attacks during World War I. my maternal grandfather had to leave the military due to ill health and died just 36 years of age. In October 1943, just 18 years of age, my father joined the Royal Air Force to be an armourer and was immediately posted to Kent, where we've heard what was going on there. He arrived at his first unit and within hours was involved with an air raid on the camp with all the horrors that go with it. Remember, just 18. After the Battle of Britain, he was posted to Lincolnshire to be part of Bomber Command, where initially he was dealing with aircraft on the Africa campaign. Later he worked on 617 dam busters, where after being allowed on a training run to Wales, in the front gunner's position, he vowed never to fly again. And to my knowledge, he only flew a couple of times, and that was to take my mum to the Caribbean for a wedding anniversary. I won't say he served with distinction, as he seems to get busted back to corporal every time he made sergeant, but he made the most of it and he gave her his best. Even had time for a wartime bride. This marriage didn't last long, but after the war he met up again with the lady who became my mother, and they remained married for over 60 years. I and my three sisters all joined the RAF in the 70s. The twins as dental surgery assistants and my elder sister as a TPO working at RAF Midmenham. Two of my sisters married RAF and one married Army. And just to ensure we are a tri-service family, my father-in-law and brother-in-law were in the Navy as submariners. One of my daughters joined the RAF and her first marriage was to an RAF man. I joined as a radar engineer at 17 and a half, and during part of my 23 years in the RAF, I served on 25 Squadron in Germany, a unit that Air Commodore Jack Broughton, who is here today, was at one time the commanding officer. It's still a small world, the RAF family. 25 Squadron was a missile squadron, so never flew anywhere. However, during my time on the squadron, my sister, the TPO, worked in the ComCen on the same station, and we used to arrange for young operations personnel to phone up whilst I was on duty to ask if 25 Squadron had any night flying planned. I guess I inherited some of my dad's mischief traits. So for me, the Battle of Britain, which we remember proudly here today, will always hold poignant memories for me. Always grateful for the sacrifice made, but the start of a proud family history. Thanks to the few, thanks to Dad. Thank you.
It's Clive Stockton, I'm Chairman of the Council. I'd just like to say one thing. I was apprenticed into the aircraft industry in the 60s and worked in a factory called Lostock, which is where 90% of the propellers for the RAF were made during the war. And I was apprenticed to a guy who was in a reserved occupation there, who used to finish work at 5 o'clock, go home, have some tea, come back and go on the roof of the factory to man the anti-aircraft guns all night. And he once told me that they could, on a clear night, see the pilot and crew's faces of the Luftwaffe bombers following the railway line to Liverpool. But they never knew where the factory was, so it never got bombed. But it's not very long ago, and it's extraordinary, the people who were there then and who made this happen. So I'd like to lay this wreath on behalf of the members of the council and all the people of Norfolk. So,
Here inscribed the names of friends we knew, young men with whom we often flew, scrambled to many angels high. They knew that they or friends might die. Many were very scarcely trained, and many badly burnt or maimed. Behind each name a story lies of bravery in summer skies, Though many brave unwritten tales were simply told in vapour trails, many now lie in sacred graves, and many rest beneath the waves. Outnumbered, every day they flew, remembered here as just the few.